Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Sarita B. Welcome to the channel for those of you who are new. On this channel, I talk a lot about personal and spiritual growth, professional development, and much more. I know it's been a while since I've posted. I have actually just been going on an extended break from juggling a couple jobs, trying to manage a 12-hour day, work day, and it's been tough. It's been tough juggling my personal goals with what is in front of me, what stands before me, which is, my job, my 9-to-5 that I get paid for, because everything else is just a hobby and a bunch of passion projects. So speaking of passion projects, I decided recently, I don't want to say recently, well, yeah, I would say like within the last few weeks, I've decided to do a challenge. I've decided to do a new series, and I am calling it the 100 Questions Challenge, for a lack of a better title. I just decided, let me make it plain and simple for myself, because anything else is just gonna make my skin crawl with trying to figure out something more creative. And then I start to procrastinate, and then the procrastination leads to the fear of failure and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so with this new series that I'm going to turn into a playlist, because let me start with the why. Why am I doing this 100 Questions Challenge? And where did it come from? So number one, why? Why am I doing this? The reason is I want to hold myself accountable. So a year ago, I actually held myself accountable by starting this channel. I said, you know what? Girl, you need to do something with your life, because jumping from career to career and still trying to figure out what I want to do long term, I was like, why don't I just document everything like a digital diary? Kind of spout out some musings, some of my favorite quotes, do like channeled messages, talk about growth, talk about development, talk about motivation, inspiration, all the things that I really love that help transform me into the woman I want to be in the near future. I was like, why don't I just compile all of those thoughts, put them out, and showcase them to whoever wants to also grow along with me on this journey, right? Because it's kind of like paying it forward. There have been so many people that I've been inspired by, and I was like, you know what? It's time to collect all of those insights, those wonderful, amazing insights, put it to use, implement them in my day-to-day, and then actually go forth and pay it forward to those who are in the place that I once was. Because the people that I look up to were where I was seated not too long ago. And then they've graduated from that spot and have moved on and upward to where they are now. And I'm kind of looking up at them and I'm like, dang, that's where I want to be right now. So I thought, this is how you keep, pulling people up, right? So when you level up and now you're at a higher position on the ladder, you keep pulling people up behind you. And that way we can all reach the top eventually one day. So the whole concept of paying it forward. Now, that's my why. Because I said I needed to hold myself accountable. I needed to be responsible for all of the knowledge and wisdom that I'm gathering, all of the data, the research that I'm doing, I need to actually now go and take action into my life and apply it. So it's not just reading books or researching or watching videos talking about how to live a better life, but now it's about taking action. So that's what this whole channel is about. Now, this challenge, the 100 questions challenge, last year I published a journal, a prompt journal with over 100 questions. It's a journal that asks thought-provoking questions about yourself to kind of help you dig deep and figure out meaning in your life. So 100 questions challenge, I am pairing these questions with the questions that I came up with a year ago from my journal, Write It, Feel It, Heal It. And I'm going to be asking myself 100 questions until I figure out what I'm meant to do with my life. So that is my introduction. Now I am going to start with question number 1. How have I grown in the past year? Now let me tell you, before I begin, I have had this idea of doing 100 questions challenge. It's kind of giving myself this task, and it's like you need to go through with it. You need to do this, because if you don't do it, then you'll never be able to practice discipline. So I knew that I needed to do this challenge because it was going to keep me on my toes. It was going to keep me disciplined, because that is something that I truly lack in my life, is discipline. It's like I have the passion, sometimes I have the drive, but the discipline, it wavers. It's like here and there, kind of like a background character in my life. And so I was like, let me actually do this, where I'm asking myself these hard-hitting questions about myself, vulnerable questions about myself, where I have to be completely 100% honest, not only to you all, but to myself, for a better version of me, a version of me that I can look back one day and say like, oh my goodness, she's so strong. She's so brave. She's a force. Okay? And when I saw what the first question was, which is how have I grown in the past year, I choked. So I've been sitting on this challenge for weeks now. I could have done this weeks ago, but I was like, nah, I don't want to do this, because I can't even answer the first question. Honest to God, I can't even answer the first question. Like it's hard for me, because I didn't even know where to begin. I was stuck on, did I grow in the past year? Have I grown? Because I feel like I'm in the same place I was for an entire year and a year prior. But a lot can happen in a year. And once I finally put pen to paper and I started to write down all of the ways that I grew in the past year, the thoughts just came flooding out of my mind and onto the page. So here we go. Here are my top 8 ways that I've grown in the past year. Number 1, I started this YouTube channel. Yeah, I'm gonna start off with that. I started this YouTube channel. not only did I start it, but I kept at it for for 1 year now. I'm actually really proud of myself for continuing this for a year, because a lot of the times, I think statistically speaking, and don't quote me on this, I don't even really know myself, I kind of heard it from somebody else on another channel, is that most creators, when they start their channel, they actually fall off within the first 6 to 8 months. So it's like, if you can stick it out for a year or a little bit more than a year, you're in it for the long game. And I was like, okay, so that's my challenge that I gave myself a year ago, March 2025. And I was like, if I could stick this out until March 2026, then boom, I'm actually doing this thing that I really didn't think I was going to stick with, because I actually had a couple of channels that came and went. I started, then I quit because I hadn't figured out my path yet. I hadn't figured out my niche or what I really wanted to do with it, like the takeaway. Like my why wasn't truly secure. It's still not, but I'm getting there. I think if you keep at it with something long enough, you're gonna stumble into what you're truly meant to do. And so I used to think a lot. I'm an overthinker. I'm anxious. I would just ruminate and get stuck in a feedback loop where I'm just thinking. And then I was like, you know what? Now it's time to do. So I was like, let me perform, take action. And then hopefully I just kind of fall into what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's how this whole channel came about. I was like, let me talk about things I want to talk about, that I would have loved other people to talk about more, and just post those topics and see where it goes. So that's my number one. I started this YouTube channel. Yay! And now I'm a year in and I'm so proud of myself. I'm giving myself a pat on the back. Number two, I published a journal full of really thought-provoking prompts. So that was another thing. I wanted to put that as top 3 things that I did, because I'm super proud of myself for actually publishing a journal and putting it online. And even though I've made a couple sales and that's it, nothing really came about it, it's still something that is so meaningful today, a year later, because now I'm going to implement those questions in the journal for this channel. So now I'm taking all of that hard work, right? The labor, it was laborious, it was tedious. I'm taking all of that work, and now I am implementing that in this new series of the 100 Questions Challenge, and I am challenging myself to answer those questions honestly. And the first question is growth, about growth. How have I grown in the past year? How have you grown in the past year? Right? So instead of asking those of you out there listening, or if you bought the journal, write it, feel it, heal it, I'm asking myself as well, how have I grown in the past year? What does that mean to me? What does that look like to me? What has the year that's gone by look like to me? If I were to rewind the tape and watch everything play out from the beginning to now, from January 2025 all the way, or we'll start from March, spring 2025 to spring 2026, how does that look like? So, yeah. All right. Number 3, I managed to juggle 2 jobs, working over 12 hours every day, And I decided to put this on because I know there are people who are like, are you kidding me? I don't know. I'm not, this is a no judgment zone. This is a judgment-free zone, but I understand with the climate that we're in, the political and economic climate that we're in, this is nothing new. A lot of people are juggling probably 3 jobs, maybe more than that, just because of where we are in this day and age with the administration. Now, I don't want to get political right now. I'm not here to talk about that, but I do want to say that that is not normal to be juggling 2 to 3 to 4 jobs at a time, working over 12-hour days. I don't think that kind of hustle culture is good for our minds, good for our bodies, our soul. So yeah, I managed to juggle 2 jobs, working over 12 hours every day. I proved to myself that I can handle hard things, that I can do what I thought would be impossible, and that I'm capable of the hustle and grind when push comes to shove. So it was tough in the beginning. I had to mentally and physically adjust, but what it taught me was about discipline. And there's that word again that I love so much, is the discipline that is needed in order to make things happen. So yeah. Number 4, I developed my voice on this channel for the past 12 months. I thought this was really important to note because that's what I was worried about since the very beginning. I was like, well, what's my voice going to be like? How am I going to approach topics or my viewers? How am I going to sound like? And the more that I actually started to talk and just stream of consciousness, let the thoughts come out of my mouth and just keep on talking, the more I started to develop my tone, my voice, and who Sarita really is. So I was truly proud about that, and I thought that deserved to go on the list. Number 5, I learned that it's better to put the work out there instead of being a perfectionist. Perfectionism is procrastination, if you didn't know. You're nitpicking and being super detailed and hyper-focused on one little corner and not really considering that 75% done is better than 0% done. And the procrastination from being a perfectionist is really just a fear of failure. And over the year, I chose faith over fear. So these days I choose faith and just kind of leaving it up to God. Whatever happens. I'm done with being a perfectionist because it only ever held me back. It did not propel me forward, which is what I really needed. I needed a push. I needed to keep moving. I needed to believe that everything was going to be okay. And then I needed to start implementing, taking action. And then after taking action and believing everything was going to work out, that's when I would be able to see all of the wonderful things that came about once I finally did something. The doers outdid the thinkers. So I didn't want to be a thinker anymore. I didn't want to be a perfectionist, anxious, worried about the outcome. I just wanted to produce, because I was done with fearing the possibility of failure, when in actuality I failed the moment that I started to ruminate over all of the many ways that I could fail. It's like I already failed because I didn't even take steps in the direction that could actually land me opportunities. I just got stuck in the planning phase. So I was like, I'm done with that. And now look, a year later, I'm still kicking it on this lovely channel that has taught me so much about myself. And I'm so forever proud of that. All right. Number 6, I cut out a lot of sugary foods and sugary drinks. This, I'm going to give myself a round of applause for this. The reason being is that sugar, refined sugar, ultra-processed foods, drinks, not really sodas, but like any kind of sugary drinks, it has always had a chokehold on me. A chokehold on me. I mean, it's to the point where it's like, it's like a stress response, because it's like if I have a bad day or it was just, a less than optimal day, then I'm gonna go and treat myself. And it was to the point where it's like, damn girl, like you're treating yourself every day of the week. Like, no, you need to be treating yourself at least like once. Otherwise it's not a treat. It's just like you're a slave to the sugar. And so that's really what it was. I was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was like turning into a slave with food. And I was like, nah, I can't. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. This isn't healthy. This isn't right. So yeah, number 6, yeah, I cut out a lot of that crap and I feel great. I still have a long way to go, but I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm going to give myself a round of applause for actually not just attempting, but sticking to it, where I cut out lots of things and I'm like eating more protein and fiber and drinking lots and lots of water. Number 7, I cut back on takeout. Eating ultra-processed foods was increasing symptoms of anxiety and depression. So yeah, in case anyone didn't know, I mean, you can do your own research about this, but these processed foods and sugar, it can increase anxiety and depression. And that's what was happening to me. Like at first I was getting anxious and I was like, man, I don't know. I feel this like impending doom. I feel like something bad is gonna happen. And then it turned into like depression, and I was just like, oh no, this is not me. This is not who I am. Like, this is not my nature to be so down in the dumps, so low, or even so anxious like this. And then it turned out that it was all this junk. So really, you are what you eat. Keep that in mind. Whatever you're consuming, think about how you're going to feel 1 hour from that moment that you're eating crap. And if you want to feel like crap an hour from now, continue eating the crappy foods. But if you want to feel great, eat more fruits and veggies, more whole foods, and you're gonna really decrease all those symptoms of anxiety and depression. I guarantee. Number 8, I stopped being desperate for other people's company. Ooh, this one's a big one. This one was a big one for me. It took so many years for me to actually stop being desperate for other people's time and for their company, attention, their time, their energy, what have you. I now go to places on my own, and I never really had a problem with that prior to a year ago. Like, I would go to the mall by myself or to a store by myself or shopping. It didn't, like, things like that never really bothered me. But let me tell you something new. A couple months ago, I did something that I had never done before. I ate at a restaurant by myself. And I know to some people that's like, okay, like, big deal. But it was a really big deal for me for a long time, because there were other women that I would see that are actually going to restaurants by themselves and enjoying their own time. And I would call up a friend of mine, and she was like, oh yeah, I just came back from lunch. And I was like, oh, with who? And she was like, oh, by myself. And I was like, oh, wow. And I was like, man, I want to be like that. I don't want to rely on someone's like being codependent and rely on someone being there with me because I'm so desperate for company, for someone else to be seated beside me or just hanging out with me, even if we're not really vibing or not having the best conversation or not even truly compatible anymore, because there are people that you just associate yourself with, but you've kind of grown apart. You've grown out of that friendship or romantic relationship, but you're just with each other for codependency. So I was like, man, if I can elevate myself and get out of this desperation, this need for being near someone, then the sky's the limit for me. If I can go to a restaurant by myself and enjoy my own company, I can do anything. Like, I can even plan an entire solo trip to Ireland and have a great time. Like, I won't even feel sad that I'm by myself or lonely, you know? So anyway, I went to that restaurant. The hostess sat me at a table right in the center. And at first I felt so out of place, but afterwards, like, the food came and I was enjoying my meal, I literally didn't care anymore. I was like, oh, I should have done this ages ago. I should have done this so long ago. I don't know why this was so daunting to me in the beginning, but it's like once you get older and you grow up, you start to care less and less about things that really seemed like the end of the world before. So I was really proud of myself for that. It just goes to show that your own company is 100 times better than being in bad company. Because I've had moments where I went to dinner with people who were selfish, self-absorbed, not great conversationalists, and just really harshing the vibe. And I was like, damn, my gut was telling me don't go out with these people, or decline the invite, or even worse, I invited them, even though I knew it was going to be a midnight, like it wasn't even going to be the best. But I was like, there's no one else around. So there's that whole desperation thing again that kept coming up. It was like a recurring theme in my life for years. I was like, oh gosh, I really need to reevaluate my friend circle and just like start purging for the sake of my mental health, because being around the wrong people can really bring you down. So yeah, I was just like, going out alone and enjoying myself. And after that lunch, I went to a festival. I went to an art festival. I had a great time. I was like really enjoying myself. And it was so much better than being surrounded by people who just weren't on your wavelength, just weren't at my frequency. So yeah, those are all the things, guys, that I've learned, not learned, but just how I grew in the past year. And I'm so thankful that God gave me another year to grow, learn, be humble, be hungry for knowledge, truth, wisdom, and insight, and just experience more and more experiences. So that's all that I have for today. Stay tuned for next episode, where prompt number 2, I ask myself, what makes me feel truly alive? Ooh, I like that one. I really do like that. That'll be an interesting question. And now I turn it over to you all, and I ask you, how have you grown in the past year? Go ahead and drop those stories into the comments section. Let's have a discussion about it. I want to know, how have you grown in the past year? What steps have you taken to further yourself, to elevate yourselves in 1 year's time? Thank you all so much for tuning in and sticking it out this long. I appreciate you all. Love and light to everyone, and until next time, ciao.